Hi, my name is Hilrick, and this is Easy Does It. I'm a recovering alcoholic and addict, omni addict, which means I'm addicted to whatever you're buying or whatever you're into. Before I go into that, for the last couple of years, I've been toying or messing with the idea to start a channel based on recovery, the 12 steps, changing your life, however and whatever you may choose to do that. And I never did it because I never found the right people to work with or people couldn't commit. But I decided to just take the leap and do it today. I've got some other YouTube channels, and it's the first time that I'm actually saying my real name on camera on the internet, even though I've been involved in media for a long time. A bit about myself. I got introduced to the 12 steps and recovery in 2001 as an 18-year-old boy. I had my 19th birthday in my first rehab. I left that treatment center in April the 20th, 2001. Before I went to rehab, the worst thing that happened was my parents caught me using buttons. I used to steal before then. I used to do a whole bunch of stupid things as a kid, considering the environment I grew up in. I was okay, it wasn't that bad. By September 9/11, that year, 2001, I watched the plane hit the second tower. I was in a house, living with a bunch of people who were house sitting at the time, Seventh Adventists. If we have to outline my journey up to then, it's been at least 50 relapses trying to get clean, in and out. But then they used to call me Mr. Just for Today, and that was not in a funny or nice way, it was behind my back. I couldn't stop because I didn't want to stop. I'd ended up on the streets. I'd ended up wanting to run away to the Navy. My parents didn't want me at home. My friends didn't want me around them. That's how quick my life got worse and worse. From everything being relatively okay to my life just being complete fuck up. 2002, I went to my second rehab, Christian based. Stayed there for 3 months, got nice and fat, then ran away. Didn't learn anything. I learned a lot about religion, Christianity, and people, but I ran away. 2003, I got arrested for the first time, twice a year. I got sentenced. I was sentenced to house arrest, 18 months. I did a year, on and off, good and bad. Ran away for the last 6 months. Eventually turned myself over to the police and then got arrested. Spent 2 years in prison, came out. My sentence got shortened. And yeah, came out scot-free. Didn't learn. Now I was even cool. I've been to prison. Nothing bad happened. Not thinking about anybody but myself, you know. Then this kind of continued and repeated itself. Rehab, sober. I managed to get up to 9 months, I think, if I have to be honest. I don't actually know if I read this before or not. By 2003, I had 9 months. And then the longest I then stayed clean, I just couldn't stay clean. In and out. I literally grew up in Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous. I didn't feel like I belonged in AA because of my race and how old I was. But I was in and out of NA. I knew everything back to front. I knew the program. I knew the people. I've worked in treatment centers. I worked with a lady who saved so many people in Somerset West, where I'm from. And I've done drug education. I just left prison again in 2009. I got caught with drugs and got arrested again. That was the last time I got arrested. Was in 2010. And I was done. I went to rehab. I think my fifth one or my fourth one. And I was desperate. Wasn't going to take no bullshit. I wasn't going to lie. I did it for me. Because I knew that I'm going to die. And I didn't want to die. Right? But I was alone, man. I was alone. I had nobody. Everybody who was around me wasn't there for me. They didn't actually care. I used to picture my funeral being black and white with a fucking crow on a gravestone off to the side. And it raining. Black and white. Everybody wearing black, a white preacher, my mother crying, my dad not being there, just my mother there, and like one or two people waiting to cover my grave. That's how I pictured my funeral. Anyway, I went to treatment. I stayed sober. Came close to 2 years. I was about to work in a treatment center. Everything was going well. I've been doing service. I've been doing meetings. Talking a lot of cuck in meetings. But I felt alone. I felt scared. I didn't trust anybody. Nobody actually knew nobody knew. Because I didn't tell anybody. I stopped trusting my sponsor. Or at least so I told myself. I didn't talk to him anymore, so I wasn't working the steps. And I was scared. I went through to Obs to a friend's house that I'd stolen from before, who also gave me a place to stay when I had nowhere to go. And he'd been using it at the time. And he's also been in and out of recovery. And he used to rent out rooms to people in Obs, and it was Obs Festival. Observatory in Cape Town. Anyway, I was going to explain. But it was in Obs, and they were using and they offered, and I said no thank you. And I went out. I went and enjoyed the evening. I was sober. I just set up an H&I meeting, hospitals and institution meeting at Boys Town, a home for young boys that have nowhere to go, for troubled kids. I think I went to a meeting and then I went outside. I came back. There were girls. I was alone. I felt lonely. I knew what was going to fix it. They offered me alcohol and I took it without thinking. I knew what was coming because I'd done this so many times. I knew what was coming, man. I drank it and I didn't care anymore. I gave up. I felt like crying, but I couldn't. It was all crying on the inside. I always describe it as this black pit of fuck all, of nothing. It's like a pit of tar that sticks to everything. Like when Spider-Man's that fucking black mask thing takes over him. That's how it feels, man. It's like overwhelmed, just alone, and nobody understands. And a good friend of mine once told me that if nobody understands, nobody understands. Within the blink of an eye, I'd started stealing from him. Started smoking buttons again. I had TB twice by now. MDR, multi-drug resistant TB and normal TB. My lungs are fucked. I couldn't even inhale. I couldn't smoke meth properly. Crack was around. It was the one thing that I know I can't use, even though I love to. Drinking, meth, buttons. I was on one. I was stealing. I was selling my phone. I was making missions, hustling. But the kids were different. Anyway, this lasted for 3 months. And I remember smoking a button with Bevan and walking home. Bevan was a good friend of mine that I grew up with. Walking home and I thought about crack. And I knew that I'm going to die if I do this. You know? I'm also diabetic. Hospital 7 times a year when I'm using. Anyway, that day I decided somewhere in the middle of February, I decided I had enough. I walked to the hospital to ask a social worker for help. I managed to get into a treatment center. I'm not going to get into the whole story of it. The point is, I know what it's like to believe I'm going to die like this. To believe I'm going to die alone without anybody helping. And the purpose of this channel is for me to share my experience of what I've been through and what I know and what I see and how I understand and how I apply the 12 steps in my life and how I believe it should be. Because there's all these complicated ways of breaking it down and applying it and doing it and answering questions and writing in books. It's too complicated. By the time you get to step 4, you're dead. This channel's going to stop that. This channel's purpose is to show you how to work the steps, how to change your life. I'm not affiliated with NA or AA. My journey is full of NA and AA. But I do know that's not the only way to recover. I do know there are other methods. And I do believe that some of what I'm going to talk to you about on this channel can be applied in your life. Doesn't matter what part of your journey you are in. I'll be answering questions. I'll be starting a Patreon where you can buy membership to support me to do this and bring content that you want, where you can write me an email on Patreon, link will be in the description, saying what it is that you are struggling with. And I will share my experience of how I've dealt with that. And if I didn't, I won't even talk about it. But I'll try and discuss it. I'll bring guests on here and we'll have discussions on the difference between AA and NA. That first day of recovery. I'll talk to people who are 20 years sober, 30 years sober, young people in recovery, old people in recovery, people who doesn't want anything to do with recovery, people who hate, despise NAAA. I'll be talking to everybody because I cannot judge anybody. This, I want to make a place of non-judgment and learning how to apply life-changing instructions into your life. That's what I want this to be. So there'll be a link to Patreon. Please like and subscribe. Join me on this journey. Join me on this journey. And let's change. You know? I believe the steps are as simple as it's written. Step 1, we admitted we were powerless of addiction, that our lives are becoming manageable. Done. I'll break it down further because it's not that simple, but it's as simple as it says. Once I realized that I can't use anymore and I asked for help, that's steps 1, 2, and 3. Step 1, I can't do this and my life is fucked. So I realized, I'm fucked. Step 2 is coming to believe that something other than myself can restore me to sanity. Coming to believe that God could restore me to sanity. That means I can't do this, I need help. Let me ask for help. Step 3, willing to ask for help. Step 4 should be started as soon as I've done that. That's how it was done in the beginning, and that's how it's not done today. And that's why so many people are being killed by people telling them they're not ready for step 4. If you read any of the literature of AA, you'll find you do the next step after you finish the first one. And that's what this channel is going to be about. Applying the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous in your life as easy and as simply as possible. I will break each step down. I will break it down. I will give metaphors. I will have discussions. I will talk to you. I'm open-minded enough to believe that there are other ways of recovery, and I will talk about those too. And above all else, I'm here to support you if you need it. And I know I'm charging you for Patreon because this is not recovery. This is a YouTube channel and I'm sharing knowledge. People charge you a whole lot more for 4 weeks in a comfortable bed with some bullshit sessions, and you leave and they tell you, go to AA. And you leave there thinking, what did I just do? You go to AA and AA is not what they were told you it was going to be. Anyway, I'm not going to get into that. So I'm going to talk about what's wrong with treatment centers and how addiction is being dealt with. I'm currently in New Zealand, but I'm from South Africa. I'll tell you exactly what's wrong with the treatment models. I'll tell you why some rehabs don't work. I'll give you a list of rehabs that I believe are the best for you to go to. And you don't have to believe anything. Look for the similarities. And if you're open-minded enough, you'll listen to what I'm saying, see whether I'm talking cock or the truth. Try it before you deny it. My name is Hilrick. Join me, stay with me, let's build this community. Let's change our lives. Let's educate and teach people. Leave all your comments in the comment section. Remember to like and subscribe. Tell me what you agree with. Tell me what you don't agree with. I'll be breaking down step 1 in the very next video. If you don't know what the fuck you're doing, stick around. Maybe I can help. Maybe we can help. I'll try and guide you into the right place. Remember, easy does it.